and also have more structure. Each one from this tunica have one structures, such as tunica externa is large, thicker layers that found around the artery and have more elastic fibers and collagen. This can say more tissue inside that support the walls of artery. And tunica interna that have more endothelial cells. You can say endothelium cells inside the tunica interna that each one have one function. And later I give you the definition and the structure in relation with the definition. You can say in relation with the function also. The tunica media that have smooth muscles that have one rule inside the artery. Let's move on another part to check another figure for veins. Have three kinds also from tunica media, tunica interna, and also tunica externa. It's the same smooth muscles, the same endothelial cells, the same elastic and collagen, but found differences and other differences between them. And later I give you. Start to check the another figures to understand the difference between artery and veins. This lumen inside the artery and veins, and that outside around surrounding artery and veins, that thin layer and this thicker layer, and also the thin layer inside the veins, and also that have more substance, have more collagen and elastic fibers that support the artery because of more high pressure inside the artery. Veins inside that can see lower pressure, so thin layers and the wider lumen than the lumen that found in artery. And compared, can see the thin layers, and I give you summary for all this structure now. But you must focus and discuss and so check all these structures to understand and start to make comparison between all these structures. And the last of this period start to check the relation, the function and arteries, veins and capillaries. Structure in relation to the function. Each one, artery, capillaries, veins have structures. The first one arteries. The first one artery that have more structures, thickest and strongest walls because they have more structure from elastic fibers and collagen, and have more smooth muscles. Each one have more functions that in relation with the structures. First one, thickest and strongest walls that have more elastic fibers and collagen that have one function. You must record and start to record all these notes in your notebook about the elastic fiber and collagen that rupture the blood surge from the heart and start blood flow and propelling forward from the heart to in each part inside the human body, such as this small arteries that arterioles that have more proportions of smooth muscles that you can say keep the blood flow forward in all parts of the body. That you must check these points about artery, check this walls, and check this lumen, that small lumen that you can say under high pressure of the blood from the heart, and the thickest and strongest wall that have more elastic fiber and collagen that keep and that prevents rupture the blood surge, and also keep the blood flowing and propelling it forward after each one pulse. Arterioles that have more endothelium can see smooth muscles inside the arterioles, and the loss can see fewer from collagen and elastic fibers. And the capillaries, you can check capillaries the same before I give you a small figure about this capillary. Thin layer from endothelial cells and lumen wider that have one role that you can exchange, can see that help to exchange the substance between the blood and the human body. Come back for veins and venules and check this point, check this figure about the valves inside the veins that keep the blood because they have lower pressure, and you can see wider lumen inside, and veins have lower pressure. And start to check these points from inside the veins have more valves that keep the blood flow in one directions and prevent it come back again to the opposite directions. That veins, and veins understand have tunica from three kinds: tunica externa, interna, and media, but are differences from that found inside the artery that have more thin layers and artery that have more thick layers. The last part from this about the summary for blood vessels, artery, veins, and capillaries, the same text, elastic wall and thin wall and single cell from endothelial cells. About this, the summary for blood vessels and also comparison between them. The last part from tissue exchange, tissue and the information of tissue fluid. Exchange in tissue between the arteries that carry blood that have nutrients and oxygen from the heart, from the blood, and from the body to the all part of the body. Number one, arterioles, or can say arterioles, that carry the blood from the artery, that carry the blood from the heart, that carry the blood from the heart, and start to check this point between arteries, arterioles, and veins and venules. There's a small veins and small artery. Between them, tissue fluid that inside the vessels called lymphatic tissue that have more liquid called lymph. So check with me about the exchange between the tissue and the blood, that artery that carry blood and moving it to the inside the capillaries, and that have more gaps because they have walls from the gaps that vary in size in different parts in the walls, and start to exchange between the tissue or cells inside the human body and the capillaries, and start waste products, and also unwanted process that produce from the cell or tissue, that all the substance that carry in the opposite direction from the tissue to the blood again, and start all this harmful substance get inside the lymphatic vessels that have more lymph, that have more nodes around the human body. So the blood circulation delivers nutrients and oxygen to all parts of the body, and tissue or cells in the opposite directions that give the capillaries or lymphatic cells, lymphatic tissue inside the lymph vessels, all the unwanted substance, harmful substance, carbon dioxide, all this go in the opposite direction from the tissue or cells inside the human body to the capillaries, again in the opposite directions, come back blood through the venules to vein to the heart, and start again about circulation system. This is the last part about this lymphatic cells, lymphatic nodes that collect all harmful substance from all parts of the body, that you can say lymphatic cells, and the latter I took with you about the start. And I give one homework, start to check all these points and start to answer and make answer for all these sentences, and send me all the sentences to make corrections around this answer. At the end of the section, thanks so much with my message.